Hey, this is Kyle Stowers, and you're listening to Fish on First.
Fish on First live draft reaction stream, I guess we call this. I don't even know, Eli. I guess it's something like that.
Yeah, the draft countdown and instant analysis.
There you go. Of course, on Foul Territory Network, presented by Jet Ski Rentals of South Florida. It's been interesting already through the first, 10 rounds that we have so far. I guess the first 4 were pretty expected. And then Curiel going 5. I think that has to be a surprise to many of us. I mean, that's a name that we were looking at the Marlins possibly getting when they pick at 14. Just seeing Hakopian go now to the Nationals is another name that the Marlins could have gotten. So some names that the Marlins have been linked to are coming off the board just before their pick, with some others surprisingly still there. So go to Hector. I'll go to you first, man. This is your wheelhouse, and Sean. But Hector, your thoughts so far on what's gone on leading up to 14 for Miami?
I would say for the most part, the draft has gone just about what you expected. Curiel went a low early, but I still thought he was a top 10 pick. Zion Rose is obviously the biggest surprise. He's a guy that probably could have gone late first, maybe even a compensation pick, but he ended up going 6th overall. The rest has been pretty much what you expect from my top list. AJ Gracia has already come off the board. That was my number 3 prospect. He went 9th overall to the Atlanta Braves. I think that's a really nice pick for them. Surprised they didn't go with a guy who is still on the clock and a guy that I didn't include on my list simply because I didn't think it was a possibility. Jacob Lombard, the infielder from Gulliver Prep, he is still available. The hometown kid, the lefty, Gio Rojas, also still available. My number 1 prospect, Chris Hakopian, has yet to be picked. So that, there's just a lot going on right now. There's still a lot of really good options. Ace Reese, obviously, from Mississippi State. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. The Marlins have a lot of opportunities to possibly get one of their top guys.
See Kevin at the draft, of course, behind you. I know we're going to go to you sparingly because the internet's not cooperating too well with you, but talk about the vibes, what's going on in the building.
This may be the lowest the music has been, so you actually got me at a good time. Oh, there's going to be a pick. Nationals are about to make their selection. So,
with the 11th pick of the 2026
I don't know if you guys can hear it.
Yeah,
the Washington Nationals select Chris Hakopian, a second baseman from Texas A&M.
They announced him as a second baseman too, which I guess already means something there. And I know Hector was talking about him as a boss moving from shortstop, but no, this is great. This is awesome. A ton of fans. Unfortunately, I did not see a single Marlins fan, but Billy the Marlins here representing. He was booed, which was surprising, knowing how little people care about this team sometimes. But the vibes are good, and So I guess now the Angels are on the clock. So good vibes here in Philly.
Yeah, if I could jump in, I think a great way to. I didn't realize that Kevin was going to be so well suited to get like the mic right in Manfred's face, essentially. So we'll have him kind of deliver the actual news itself when Manfred's ready to announce a few picks from now. So that's how
Joe Doyle's tweets. Don't want to look at Joe Doyle's tweets.
No. We'll hear it straight from Manfred's mouth when the Marlins pick. So go ahead.
Can I point out something I just realized? On MLB TV, they show the top 5 available prospects. The top 3 are all from South Florida. Lombard from Gulliver, Hakopian from Stoneman Douglas, and Justin LeBron, who played college ball at Alabama. However, he's from Archbishop McCarthy in Southwest Ranches. So
yeah, some baseball hotbeds down here for sure, especially Archbishop, as you mentioned there. Gulliver too. Isaac's
Douglas the last couple of years.
Not even on here. Isaac's not even on here, and the Marlins could get somebody from his high school alma mater. Anyways. Sean, we can start previewing this. There's always a question drafting for need versus drafting best player available. the Marlins, I think in many years have gone what they thought was the best player available. I mean, you're looking at Lombard here possibly falling. The Marlins don't really need shortstops. I mean, you have many guys in the minors that could stick at shortstop, Ivar Arquette being one, and many others. But if he's there, can you go with somebody else?
I mean, you definitely can. It's also dependent on bonus, right? The Marlins don't necessarily have as big of a bonus as they've had in past years. So maybe Lombard is looking for an overslot deal that the Marlins may not want to make with him. I do think that if there's ever a year where perhaps the best player available it's probably this year, concerning that their next pick is, I mean, they have 2 second-rounders technically with the Comp B pick, so they don't pick for a while. It's not like past years where they've had 2 first-round picks or one Comp A pick. So it's possible Jacob Lombard goes if he falls to Miami, but looking at it now, no pitcher's been selected, at least as of right now. So the Marlins could have any pitcher in the draft, which maybe they weren't expecting. So
Flora went. One pitcher did
a lot of the.
Yep. Jackson Flora from UC Santa Barbara went 4.
Oh, he did. Yes, he did good. My bad. 4. Yeah. But everyone else, I mean, Gio Rojas is still available. Logan Redemann's available. Liam Peterson's still available. Even Cam Flukie, which some are lower on than others, but some really like. He's like 6'6", big stuff. If the college bats continue to fall, the Marlins may be forced to select in that way. But as of right now, I mean, you still have Ace Reese on the board and Jacob Lombard, also a high school kid, sorry. So we'll see what happens. But I think the board's falling pretty nice for Miami right now.
Yeah. I mean, definitely this is kind of the area where it gets jumbled up. You know, you got the favorites at the top. Some of the bigger names went already. And what's going to happen when the Marlins are on the clock here? What, 1 pick, 2 picks? Eli, go ahead. What are you thinking?
I just want to kind of echo what Sean brought up, a pretty important point, that it is a while until they pick again after they make this 14th overall pick, even though, like, you could look historically, the odds of this type of player turning into a star are pretty low. But in this year, they're a victim of their own success somewhat, and they're also a victim of just the alternating year tough luck in this case, where for those unfamiliar, every year the Marlins alternate between a competitive balance round A pick and round B, and round A comes immediately after the first round, and then round B is immediately after the second. So in this particular year, that affects not only their draft position, but their total bonus pool money as well, in terms of what they can get creative in doing. Like, even if a really talented player falls, will they have enough money to sign Lombard if he's available? Will they have enough for a guy that was expecting to go a lot higher? It's kind of like a Khalil Watson situation from 5 years ago. That's the closest comp I could think of it if it winds up that way, where the Marlins were able to barely get that deal across the finish line, and then that relationship didn't go particularly well at any point for a guy that was expecting to go a lot higher. So that's just one of the variables to keep in mind here with that particular player if he does fall to them.
I think the Angels are picking right now. Angels select.
Whenever we're gonna get these picks, it's gonna come straight from Manfred to Kevin to us. So
absolutely.
Angels the Angels made a pick. I couldn't even tell you the guy's name. It's a very long name. Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
That's right. Because the cool thing about the high school
Cardinals are clocked at 3:45 left. So Marlins are right after that. So we'll see. Lombard's still there. I think you got to feel like that's best case if they do choose him. It seems like the word around is that could be the case. So we'll see. But everyone that could be the right choice is still there, or at least what Hector, Sean, and everyone else has said so far. Do not choose Justin LeBron.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Justin LeBron. I think that was the very last profile that Hector put together. I think we should just briefly, in case that is the pick, Hector, if you could just lay out quickly why it is that some of us are kind of fearful of that as a worst case scenario with LeBron. I got that. Just the quick summary about where he was as a prospect entering this cycle and where he is now.
So to begin the draft cycle, he was a possibility. He was probably like a top 3 or top 5 prospect going into this upcoming year, and a guy that probably that was one of the favorites to be the number 1 overall pick. However, he just struggled at the plate, and also his defense really started to suffer. Even though I still think he's an excellent defensive shortstop and he's got incredible hands, he's kind of a wizard out there, just a tremendous athlete. His errors doubled from 2025 to 2026, and his bat really struggled. Like, he obviously has a lot of power. He's not a big kid, but he's got quick twitch, and that's where he gets his power from. But he's a guy that batted 229 in the SEC with a metal bat. Like, that could be an issue at the next level where you're hitting with the wood bat, and he's already playing against elite competition in the SEC. Every Friday night you're facing a guy that's probably going to get drafted either later on today or tomorrow. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Marlins if they take LeBron. But if they fix the hit tool, he's a 5-tool player. But obviously, hit is such an important tool to have.
For sure. I think what we'll do here is, Kevin, as soon as Manfred calls the Cardinals pick, unmute yourself so that we hear from Manfred himself. Then we'll go to break. Then we'll go around for instant prediction time in terms of who we think it's going to be. And then we'll go back to Kevin for the actual announcement itself. I think we have a couple minutes to spare until then, though.
Yeah, I mean, if they do go top heavy, which is they have the capacity to do that. High school picks, they usually get overslot deals to pay out an overslot deal to a high school player with the first pick. That's going to cost them money if that is the route that they go. But I think, like you were saying, Eli and Sean, with not another pick for a little while, they probably have the capacity to do it, but they would have to spend a lot of their pool early if they do go high school first.
All right, here we go. Again, Cardinals pick is in. Here we go.
With the 13th pick of the 2026 MLB Draft, the St. Louis Cardinals select Trevor Condon, an outfielder from Etowah High School in Woodstock, Georgia.
So Lombard is available to the Marlins
the next
at 14 overall if they go that way. Again, we were just saying what the money, which is a lot. Like you were saying, Eli, it does remind of the Khalil Watson situation where you're going to have to shell out a lot of your pool. But with not another pick till Comp B, I think you can do it. It's going to cost them most of their pool. So they're probably, if they do go Lombard here, will not get some – they'll have to get creative with the rest of their draft, we'll say. But yeah, I think best player available, this is the year to do it, I think.
All right. I've been ignoring the spoilers. I know that some are trying to bleed into my brain right now, but we'll go to break. Shout out Jet Ski Rentals of South Florida. Come back, prediction times, and then the grand reveal live from Philly. So stick with us for that, of course. Friends at Jet Ski Rentals of South Florida, they present all of our podcast efforts here on Fish on First. Miami's best jet ski and boat adventures. Jet Ski Rentals of South Florida. With 6 jet ski locations and over 120 boats, there's something for every style and every budget. Ride jet skis right in front of the downtown skyline and Ferris wheel, or book your own private boat starting as low as $300 with the captain included. Bring your drinks, your friends, and enjoy the water your way. The boat is completely yours for the time you reserve it. The reservation based only. To book, call 305-990-2192 or check them out online at sfjetskirentals.com. Make sure to use our promo code FISHONFIRST, and that gets you a 10% discount off your next booking. Again, that's 305-990-2192 or online at sfjetskirentals.com. So
we're going early prediction time for who the Marlins will select here as they are on the clock at 14 overall. Is it the best player available? Do they have someone else in mind? What do we think they'll do? Jeremiah, I'll go to you first. We haven't heard from you yet. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's got to be best player available. If I was in the Marlins' shoes right now, I'm going with Gio Rojas, left-handed pitcher out of high school. Really good stuff, fastball, slider. I think they go pitcher. Yeah, that's my prediction.
Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, it seems like every draft, I'm a big fan of the local guys, and I think the Marlins have a great pick right here no matter who they go with. Obviously, Lombard down in Miami, but I think the guy who I've been on this entire draft has been Gio Rojas. Just like Jeremiah said, he's been the ace of the Stoneman Douglas pitching staff, the best program in the country since his sophomore year. Wipeout fastball, amazing slider. I think the Marlins have to go with Rojas here.
Hector?
I didn't think he'd be available, but he is. Jacob Lombard, I mean, that makes the most sense. But, you still got Gio Rojas, he's another hometown kid, awesome pick. He'd be an awesome pick. And you obviously have Ace Reese. I think the Marlins, if they don't get one of those three guys, they kind of mess it up. So we'll see.
Sean?
A lot of solid options still on the board, but I do think Marlins go with best player available, and he is also my best player available, and Jacob Lombard.
I will briefly go and echo what you just said, Sean, and what Hector has said. I mean, they don't really need shortstops, but this is the year to go best player available, and he is the best player available. It's Jacob Lombard. That's if they get him, that is a slam dunk pick for the Marlins. Eli, go ahead.
Important factor here is that none of Jacob Berry's siblings or relatives are draft eligible this year, so they're not going to fall into that trap. And I think instead they'll go Jacob Lombard. That's my best guess here. And I think one that would make a lot of people happy considering the value proposition of what we thought entering this draft. But we're about to find out.
Kevin, go ahead before the pick.
Submitted your favorite photo.
Clock is still running, still on the clock with just under a minute remaining. I think the Marlins go with Lombard. You have to. That is by far the best player available in this draft. And if Frankie Blair's strategy is best player available, that's who he will take. And Lombard becomes a top 10 prospect in the system. He's that good.
Yeah, absolutely. So Marlins taking their time, I guess, here, but to me, it's the money. To me, it's the money. We were talking about it, but I think they can get it done. But the rest of this draft, I don't think will be too exciting if they do go with Lombard. So they'll have to get creative. I mean, there is obviously talent to be found all over the draft, but they'll need to get creative with who they scouted and who they spent time with. Prediction: Mason Edwards. That's a name we haven't heard. Yeah. So just waiting the clock here.
Once again, a look at the picks.
Hey,
right before
the pick is not in yet.
Ooh.
6 seconds, 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1, and they just expired. All right, the pick is in. So we should be hearing from Manfred any second, and I'm going to get a video of this too. Got to work two things at the same time. So, all right, I'll let you guys when he comes out.
Yeah, thank you, everybody that's tuning in live for this. I think the reactions are going to be our best part, but then the second best part is actually analyzing who this pick is going to be, because that's where it was very difficult, of course, to pin down who is going to be available at this range, yada, 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 entering this. So we cast a very wide net in previewing it, but ultimately the most important thing is getting you familiar as quickly as possible and as much as possible with
Here we go.
The 14th pick of the 2026 MLB Draft, the Miami Marlins select Jacob Lombard, a shortstop from Gulliver Prep School, Miami, Florida. The Arizona Diamondbacks have the next pick.
That is the right thing to do. Awesome. Snap reaction.
Best player available.
Hector, go ahead. Snap reaction.
Hector's shocking. He's shocked.
Oh, no, and he's muted.
Hector.
He's so shocked he forgot to unmute himself.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Lombard, I wasn't expecting him to be taken this early. I thought he'd be a top 5-7 pick. Marlins grabbed the best hit player in the draft, number 5 prospect according to MLB Pipeline, and just an absolute monster get for the Marlins. This is a guy that is a 5-tool player. He can, he does have a little bit of swing and miss to his game, but to be honest with you, that was really only like at the circuit level where everyone's throwing in the mid-90s. So everyone at the high school level, especially at those summer circuits, there's going to be some swing and miss, but he does everything well. He's an incredible athlete. He's a little bit more power over hit tool, but I mean, there's just so much to like there. He's a shortstop at the next level, and if needed to move to third base, because if he outgrows a position, he's a Gold Glove candidate at third.
Yeah, Sean, go ahead. I mean, the scouting grades, this is just looking briefly, 55 grade hits, 60 grade power, 65 runs, so you're fast as well. I mean, you got tools on tools here. Local guy, this is easy to root for, but go ahead.
Yeah. It's extreme tools. Maybe some of the most tools out of all the high school players in the first round that were available. He's number 7 on my board with big toolsy high school players, especially of his size, 6'3". of course, the range of outcomes are large. I had the floor at a 40 with the ceiling at a 60. I only gave 5 players in this draft a ceiling of a 60 future value, which just kind of shows that if everything hits, which goes with his hit tool, which I guess is the biggest question, that's going to really determine his range of outcomes. But like Hector said, he should stick at shortstop, even given his size. If he has to move over to third base, you definitely have a Gold Glove third baseman with potential for 25 to maybe even 30 home run power one day. I mean, this is a big frame, and he's already physically gifted for an 18-year-old. He's big. He kind of has a pro body as it is right now. So it's all going to be on the hit tool and the approach. But besides that, I mean, this was the best player available. I think the Marlins did the right thing here.
Not a lot not to like. I mean, like we were saying, the money is going to be the thing. So that out of the way, I mean, you go best player available. This is the best player available. I think it definitely was obviously the best position player available. Take him away from a commitment to Miami. That's not going to be cheap. So we were saying it before, Nate, but I mean, this is going to be overslot, I guess we could say. We could point out the overall slot value for this. How far over do you think this should or will go for this player?
I'm not the expert on slot like a lot of the other guys are, but I think obviously we'll go over and probably will have the Marlins later in this draft will obviously have to, take the damage of that. But for a guy like this, it's worth it, man. I don't know if you guys touched on this earlier, but obviously he comes from a huge baseball family. His dad was a coach for many organizations, brother obviously with the Yankees. So I think they're getting a baller here, man. Obviously he faced some of the best competition in all the country out here in South Florida, played great on the prep circuit, the number 2 player in Perfect Games high school ranking. So no PJ Orlando curses. He was number 1. So that's out of the factor this year around. So big get for the Marlins. The board pretty much worked out right in their favor. So hopefully get him in Miami. I mean, soon enough. I don't know as quick as they can get him there with obviously getting him signed and stuff, but it shouldn't be long.
Right. Yeah. So some things to keep in mind when it comes to the potential financial ramifications. This is a player where, I mean, for example, if we thought he was going to go very likely somewhere between 5 and 8, something like that, the slot values of those picks are 8.3 million, 7.8 million, 7.3 million. The Marlins have a slot value of 5.4 million. That's multiple millions of dollars, probably below what the average projection was for him. That doesn't mean he's going to make up all that money, but I think he's going to make up some of it and be an over slot signing here, which would mean that overall we'll take a broader look at their bonus pool. Like the total bonus pool for this year is right in the middle of the pack for MLB teams. It's just a shade below 12 million. And you could go a little bit above that without too severe penalties. But it means that he's going to take up at least half of this bonus pool if I was to estimate it right here. And that just means that they'll have to trim elsewhere in the draft in order to make it work. You don't really make this pick unless you're certain that you can sign him, but the trade-off of being able to sign him is going to be spending less in these subsequent rounds than they previously did. I mean, there's really nothing in common between him and Barry, but I bring up Jacob Barry again just because financially it was a very similar circumstance. Barry signed for $6 million in 2022, and the Marlins' total bonus pool that year was right around $12 million as well. And as it turns out, the Marlins didn't have a ton of other talent from that 22 draft class outside of Barry. Carson Milbrandt is probably the saving grace of that entire class to this point 4 years later. Most of the other guys aren't even in like minor league ball anymore just because the Marlins are so strapped for resources in later rounds. So, I'm not going to say that this is necessarily a one-man draft class. I might be overreacting slightly. It's just that it's going to be on that end of the spectrum compared to the typical draft. A whole lot of their success is going to be relying on Lombard coming through and getting relatively close to his lofty ceiling.
Yeah, if I could chime in really quickly, I think talking about the bonus pool, I would wager that Lombard probably gets around what the slot for the Royals is, which is it is 7.7 million. Where Zion Rose, who they selected at 7, is probably going to get the Marlins slot value around 2 million less, which makes sense for the Royals considering they pick again at 30, where the Marlins don't pick again till the 50s, I believe. So yeah, I mean, I think you had to go best player available there for the slot, given that they don't have a comp A pick. And I mean, what better player to fall than Jacob Lombard if you're talking about best player available? So
I guess one thing we could point out is, why did he fall that far? I mean, it's a player that a lot of people expected to go a lot earlier than this. I don't think many of us had him falling to the Marlins at 14. Is it signability? Is it something in maybe physicals that we haven't heard yet? Like what could be, I'll let anybody go on this. What could be the reason that a guy like this, that is a supreme athlete, it seems, will stick at shortstop, really good hit tool, really good power, really good speed. It's like at least 4 out of 5 tools at what he's being scouted for, and a lot of time on his side. So what could be the reason that a player like this falls a bit past this possible draft spot?
Yeah, I would just, to me, I would say it's signability and it's hit tool. It's probably a lot of MLB teams' models, which is how a lot of teams now deal with the draft. Probably don't project his hit tool or approach to significantly improve as he reaches the majors. Maybe some teams don't view him as a shortstop, which definitely hurts how you would view him if you're drafting a high school third baseman compared to shortstop on a value scale is a big difference. So that's the only 2 things I could think of. He's 18 years old. He has good bloodline. I mean, his father is currently the bench coach with the Tigers, as Nate mentioned. His brother is a top prospect in the Yankee system. So it has to be hit tool approach and signability.
Oh, Hector's muted again.
Jesus. I think for the most part, it's probably just signability. I think that's probably the only reason, because, I mean, hit tool, we say like, oh, he's got, hit tool this, hit tool that. He's still graded as a 55 hit tool, which is rated above average. The one tool that I would say that he probably needs the most work with, and that could be an issue with him being a shortstop, is the arm strength. That's his biggest weakness. His arm isn't the best, but that's also one of the tools that you could fix, the best. So, I mean, obviously elite speed, this is from my draft profile a couple months ago about him. I had him as a top 10 pick, and somehow, he fell all the way to 14 for the Marlins. I think very intelligent ball player, obviously comes from a baseball family. Did, like I said, struggle with high velocity in the past. That's during the summer circuit where everyone's throwing mid-90s. Obviously the high school talent down here is incredible, but there's going to be obviously some high school kids that you're facing. They're going to be low to mid-80s, and you could just tee off on them. But my comparison is Jeremy Pena, because I just like the physical tools, just like Jeremy Pena. And I think he can be a pretty complete player like Pena. Another guy who, I've been thinking about him more and more is like a Connor Griffin type.
I'm also not sure if anyone touched on this, but Lombard is a really big soccer player. Huge fan of soccer, played soccer his entire life. There's a video of him that Youth Prospects did a while ago asking him, like, what do you prefer, baseball or soccer? And he said it depends on some days. So it reminds me that what Frankie Polari said last year when talking about what guys they like. He said they really prioritize athletes. Obviously, Ivar Arquette was the Gatorade Player of the Year for Hawaii in basketball. So another guy, multi-sport talent, something I thought funny wrinkle because, I mean, speed, wherever you need. So it's interesting to they, follow that route.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting spectrum there where you want guys, of course, to love baseball as much as possible, work as hard as they can to be the best version of themselves in the pros. But at the same time, I kind of am on that same train of thought that you want these guys to be well-rounded as athletes and as people once they entering pro ball. You don't want them to live, sleep, and breathe everything for their entire life, and that to come at the detriment of their overall development. So I do see that as a plus, the fact that he has strong passions elsewhere and is able to learn that and ultimately incorporate that. To bring some other examples of current Marlins, Joe Mack was a big-time volleyball player and basketball, in addition to being baseball. Max Meyer played a lot of hockey growing up and really liked that. I mean, there are countless examples of this that you can point to, that I think the more the better, and that generally serves these guys well moving forward. So we're going to take a quick break here, hear from our friends at Fabletics, and then we'll come back. We'll talk more about Jacob Lombard, and then we'll start looking ahead to the rest of today. Marlins still make 4 more picks today alone, 20 more picks over the course of this weekend, and we'll dive into it as much as we can. So stick with us.
It's summertime. You know what we do at FT? We look for hacks. How can we feel like we can do it all outside with something that's breathable, something that feels premium? Fabletics hooks us up. I've got the Cloud Jersey tee. It is super soft, Kratz, but it works at the gym. It works when I'm on the show. It works when I'm going to meetings. It is the true super utility player.
Same here. Difference is I got the nice stripe across so you can have style and also have versatility, because you know what? I'm going to go to the gym probably in the same stuff that I'm going to have my meetings in and the same stuff that I'm going to go out and have breakfast in. So you know what? This is where Fabletics got me.
And Kratz, everyone can shop now at fabletics.com/Val to get 70 to 80% off everything when you sign up as a new VIP. Take a quick style quiz and be sure to select Val when prompted to unlock this offer. This is a limited time offer, so don't wait. Again, that's fabletics.com/FOUL for 70 to 80% off everything as a new VIP.
Back here on the draft reaction live show on Fish on First. I don't have that cool title that you had first there. Instant analysis, I guess you said, whatever it was. Anyways, the Marlins selecting Jacob Lombard, high school shortstop. That's what we're reacting to live on the show before the Marlins pick 4 more picks later on today. We've discussed a little bit how this player fits the Marlins, why he fits the Marlins, because he's the best player available. But what the Marlins do have now is a question in terms of who is their long-term shortstop. And I guess that is a good problem to have, but there's many guys, including Lombard, who could fit this bill. Obviously, you're going to give this guy the chance to stick there. You're going to spend a lot of money on him. You're going to want him to stick at the most premium position possible. And that would be shortstop. A lot of evaluators say he can stick there, despite being a pretty big guy. I mean, they think Ivar Arquette could stick there too, and he's massive. So my question for you guys here is, what do they do here, and how do they juggle these cards in terms of all of these athletes that they have who could potentially stick at shortstop now, with their last 2 first-round picks potentially being those 2 who could stick at that position, Ivar Arquette and Jacob Lombard? Who do you like more to stick there, and why? I guess, Jeremiah, go ahead.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Dodgers situation when it comes to outfielders in AA, AAA. Some say there's a logjam. They have Zaire Hope, Mike Sirota, and there's a problem of getting guys up to the majors, and it creates a system of moves you're going to have to make. But at this point in Lombard's career, I mean, he's so young. He's 18 years old, right out of high school. You want him to play shortstop. It's the premium position for a draft pick that you're spending a lot of money on. I don't really view it as a concern, because I think these problems tend to play themselves out and just handle them themselves. I know there's a little bit of a concern with the arm strength, but he's such an athlete, right? And he's got so many other tools, the speed, the power. And that's what I really like, is his offensive production. Whereas defensively, he sticks at shortstop. That's great. But I'm so high on his bat and what he brings to the table that, with Iva in the system, if Iva ends up going to third and Lombard sticks at short, 5-6 years down the road in Miami, you're going to live with that. You're going to be completely fine with that, as long as they just continue to make progress with each level of the minor leagues. So, time will tell. I just don't think it's a main concern that the Marlins should have right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the conventional thinking is you can draft as many shortstops as you want. The more the merrier. It really is, because these guys, if they have the athleticism to play shortstop, if they have the instincts to play shortstop, they can play practically any position. So I'll leave it kind of as simple as that to me, where I'm kind of satisfied with that. With Arquette, it's a more unorthodox physical build for sure, even though I think, but from what we've seen, scouting him in the Marlins I've been really impressed by his shortstop defense. It's just that historically, guys, you don't want to be too shallow, but guys that look like him and are built like him just usually don't stick at shortstop. Usually they're surpassed by somebody else that is smaller and more compact. So somebody like Lombard. And Lombard himself is pretty big for that position too, 6'3". So it's not like a huge difference, but I think every inch matters, as you can say in some other aspects of life as well. So I think Lombard is, I would say, more likely to stick there overall, but ultimately I think it's a great problem to have in the draft. Always load up as much as possible on guys with shortstop potential and then see where it goes from there.
Yeah, like I said, it's a good problem to have. And Arquette has already spent some time at third base, of course, injured right now. The Marlins hope to get him back before the end of the year at AA after he hurt his thumb on a slide. But yeah, no, Lombard coming in, I mean, this is a huge get. And like we said, I mean, you could always move pieces around. It's definitely a good problem to have. It's just interesting that their last 2 picks have been, shortstop, and they think they can stick there. So, it's going to be interesting to see how they juggle those pieces as time goes on. One other question I had, and Hector, I'm going to go to you on this, or Sean. When you're going into a draft at any point as an organization, you tend to use your resources and spend time probably around the guys that you think you can get. And even though Lombard is a local guy, I would be interested to know how much time they spent with him in terms of area scouting, in terms of regional scouting, stuff like that. So my question for you guys is, do you think they've spent a lot of time around this player thinking, and I guess betting, that he would go earlier, and then he doesn't? So the question really is, do you think they knew everything there was to know about this player, or do you think they're just going to learn more over time?
If you want, I can go first. Yeah. So based on from what I know, they've been looking at him for a while, for multiple years, because he is right in our backyard, because he's right in their backyard. So because of that, they already had a general idea of who he is. The area scout got to know him, because look, I have friends that are scouts, and they still, even if they know they have no chance of going after a guy, they still do their due diligence, because the MLB draft is so unpredictable that guys are going to fall every single year. I mean, we just saw it right now with Lombard, and we've seen it year in and year out. The guys that probably are number 2 or 3 prospect end up going 10th overall. So every team does their due diligence, and because he's right in the Marlins' backyard, they can get plenty of due diligence on him. He comes from a baseball family, so not only do you know about the player, but about the family pretty well, because they've been around baseball for a while. About the brother, so what their makeup is like. So when he does fall to you, I don't think you think much about it. You just say, let's go get this guy in our organization and let's celebrate, boys, because this is a guy that I think is going to be a great fit for the organization. And as far as position goes, it doesn't really matter. Just grab the best player available. Actually, I've talked to a lot of college baseball coaches, and a lot of their strategies are just get guys up the middle, because you get the best athletes, and then you figure out the positions at the end of the day, because usually if you can get guys that are excellent athletes in center field and shortstop, maybe they might not play that position at the collegiate level or at the next level, but because of how athletic and how good they are, it's easier for them to transition to other positions.
Yeah, I don't think it would be that big of a concern. I mean, I'm 100% sure the Marlins scouts and executives, I mean, they've been familiar with Jacob Lombard probably since he was 14, 15 years old. You know what I mean? So they're not thinking when he's 15 years old, oh, we're going to have pick 14. We're not going to, they don't know. So I think that they have extensive, research on him. Like Hector said, it's a baseball family. I don't know how much say even someone like Rachel Balkovic has in this, but I mean, she does come from the Yankees org when George Lombard had just been drafted. So maybe there's some sort of familiarity there. She, asked around. These, I'm sure the top, 300 players, they probably have some extensive work on them, especially for high schoolers. Sometimes college guys slip through the cracks, I'm sure. But yeah, it's not a worry to me, I don't think.
One thing I want to bring up now is we've been talking, 15, 20 minutes since the pick was made, is now we're seeing who else has been picked since then. So some very notable names, guys that we had just discussed, went off the board shortly after that. I think, Nate, were you one of the Gio Rojas stands in here? So just seeing him go, he goes 2 picks later. So how about that? The fact that almost immediately after the Marlins were on the clock, he comes off the board to Texas.
And then there's LeBron to the Reds. So,
Oh boy, I gotta say that the Logan Hughes pick is a bit shocking there for the Astros, but they have another first rounder, so it might be an underslot deal. Rojas was, in my opinion, the best high school arm in the draft, so it's a great pick by Texas. Hopefully, Skip is still there to have Rojas drawing for him.
Okay. We're going to take one more ad break from FanDuel. Then we'll come back and we'll wrap this thing up. We'll get some more final thoughts on Lombard and what the Marlins are going to be doing with the rest of this class. It's been fun so far, and stick with us through the home stretch.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, the MLB season is in full swing, and FanDuel is giving you a chance to call your shot with daily dingers. Joining the action is easy. Just make your free pick on who's hitting a home run in their game, and if you're right, you'll get a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. It's just another reason why FanDuel is the home of home runs. So are you ready to play your game? Head over to FanDuel.com/podcast to get started. That's FanDuel.com/podcast to opt in for daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. No purchase necessary. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Back to give final thoughts on what we all agree is a great start to the draft for the Marlins, getting high school shortstop Lombard here, local guy, toolsy as hell, athletic. We love it. I would say that this is, and I'll go around to you guys and ask you this question, just closing out your thoughts on what they did here. It's going to cost them a lot of money. We went through that. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what they do the rest of this draft, which we'll have coverage on, of course, with Kevin in the building. 4 more picks to go today and plenty more over the course of the weekend, as Eli, you alluded to. So tons more talent still to come into the org, even though the Marlins will have to get a little bit crafty with it, I think, with how they've spread out the money. But final thoughts on this guy that they added to the org. I would say that this is probably my favorite first rounder that they've had in a while. But I'll go to you guys on your thoughts in terms of where you think this guy lands in terms of recent Marlins draft picks in your memory. Go ahead. I'll go to Nate. Go ahead. I'll go to you first. Is this the best in a while for you?
Definitely towards the top. I think out of the guys that they've picked with their actual first selection, probably number one in my book as well. Back in 2023, I was a huge fan of Thomas White, obviously just knowing what he did throughout high school. So I love that from the second they did it as well. But yeah, man, I think that, like I said earlier, this board really worked out in their favor. They had the cream of the creme of what guys they wanted, who might have not have been, in their head going into the draft, but it worked out, man. I just watched that video back that I was mentioning. He also did gymnastics. So this guy can pretty much do everything. So mobile guy, big athlete. And if you're playing shortstop, it's going to be big. Comes from a winning family, like everyone's mentioned. So got to love everything, not only on the field, but the outside factors as well, works out in the Marlins' favor. So 10 out of 10 in my book. And I just want to shout out Sean and Hector, who do an amazing job covering the draft. I'm not as tapped in to the draft as I usually am, as a lot of other things in the Marlins organization. So I know all year this is what these guys are working on. So this is their Super Bowl. So congrats, guys. You guys did an amazing job once again.
I'm just sigh of relief on our front that at least we had a profile of Lombard. That was one of the very first ones that Hector did. I have it organized that way. I think that was the second one in the entire series. Was in very early in the process. If we'd waited later, then maybe Hector would have skipped it because it would have just seemed so unlikely that he would have fallen to this point. But sometimes the initial intuition is the right one with that. So I'm glad that we had it covered there. It is a great twist that he happens to be a local guy too. I know the organization doesn't give a shit about that. They may say it. I know, you know what? I guarantee they're going to say that they're going to bring up the fact that he's from South Florida. They're going to market that, but they don't care whatsoever about that. That has never impacted the draft decisions they've made either under this current administration or the previous one or the one before that. But I think the fans care. So for what it's worth, they'll be rooting for him extra hard in this case. That helps a little bit with the discourse. But yeah, I'll get a few more thoughts from you guys. And then I want to also circle back to this question from Parrish in our comments about where he's going to slide into the FOF top 30 list. That's an interesting question too.
Yeah, Jeremiah, go ahead. Historically, I mean, looking at last few Marlins first rounders, I would say that this has to be top of the board. But I'll get your thoughts closing it out on him. Is just the best Marlins first rounder in a bit?
Yeah, I would say so. Definitely over the last couple of years. I'm trying to go back even since Noble Meyer. I like this pick over Noble Meyer, and that was a top 10 pick. Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing not to like about him. He's a stud. He's an athlete, and he's got a lot of tools that the organization can work with, and that's a big thing for me. Thinking about prospects is what tools do they got? What's their projection long term? Because he's young. He's a few years away from the majors. But this organization is improving in so many ways, and you're already seeing results of that. I think Lombard fits right in perfectly, and he's going to be one of the higher rated prospects in the farm system just as soon as he signs. I mean, this guy really is an exciting prospect. I'm really excited for his debut in the professional baseball setting, the minor leagues. It's a big change from high school baseball. But yeah, the power and speed is what intrigues me. And then that hit tool, if they can get that, situated at a good level, we're talking about a potential 4 or 5-star prospect.
Yeah, definitely a huge get. I think we all agree that this is a top 10 guy in the system. Where exactly, to answer the question on the screen, Eli, I'll let you go first on this to answer Parrish's question in terms of our current top 30, which we released right around the midway point of the minor league season. I'll let you go ahead and answer him first. So where does he wind up in your mind on the top 30?
He's a lock for the top 3. I mean, when we were going through those deliberations, we felt there was a clear tier difference between Thomas White and Robbie Snelling 1, 2, and then it was just open season from 3 onward. Comfortably top 3, comfortably the top position player in the Oregon. So the question is whether it's a fascinating conversation between him, White, and Snelling, especially given the fact that both White and Snelling are injured right now. Despite how well they've performed in the minors, there's a little bit of uncertainty about when they're going to resume things. So that's one of many difficult comparisons between them. I would probably, my first instinct is to say 2. I think I might squeeze him between Snelling and White, but I could really see a case where we put him all the way at number 1. I think more likely 2 or 3. So I'm deciding between 2 or 3, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. Just the incredible ceiling of Thomas White with the stuff profile, even though he's injured right now, high schooler as well, all the time on his side. Not to bash Lombard at all, but there is that slight question about the hit tool. So I mean, everything together, you're really going to have to split hairs to make a case one or the other. I would agree it's an interesting conversation, but 2 would be my spot to put Lombard right now. But that could change quickly down the road. Nate, what are your thoughts on that?
I would lean in between 2 and 3 as well. I want to get with the rest of you guys on how we really evaluate him. That's to Robbie Snelling, especially with Snelling going out of Tommy John. I would still sit with Thomas at 1 just because of his track record so far in the minors and just the overall projectability of that guy. But I think, like Eli said, yeah, we did mention that when we were discussing that. There's a not big gap, but in between a guy like Dylan Lewis and Robbie Snelling, I'm comfortable with putting Lombard above Lewis. So definitely higher than Iva if you guys want to look at it that way. No knock on Iva, but getting this guy at 14, who I believe Iva had a 55 future grade, and then Lombard has a 60 on MLB.com. So it's crazy how it works out, and this Marlins farm system just keeps improving.
I guess we can close it out with that being our thoughts on Lombard, which we're going to talk more about him, much more about him as the months, weeks, years go on. But I guess the last thing we can mention is where do the Marlins go from here in the draft? I mean, they have a bit to go today, and then much more to go over the weekend. You're looking at their second round pick coming up at number 52. They just had the pick come in for the Red Sox at number 20 overall. So we're going to be waiting a little bit for that next Marlins pick. But Hector, what's next for the Marlins in this draft? We mentioned them getting creative. Where do you see them going next in terms of what could be in the second round and the comp round?
So for me, I have them going pretty deep, at least heavy in the college world. My latest mock, my second round pick, I had them taking Andrew Williamson, an outfielder from UCF. He's another Florida kid. I think it'd be interesting to see how much the Lombard signing changes things, especially as far as signability goes. So I could see the Marlins, and at least if not today, a lot tomorrow, take a lot of seniors that have no leverage as far as signing bonus money. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Marlins do. Obviously, Lombard throws things off a little bit just because of how much he's going to command. Maybe the Marlins are lucky because he is a hometown kid. Maybe they get like a little bit of a hometown discount. Maybe that was part of the reason why he fell in the draft, where he probably slipped out of the top 10 and told teams like, hey, I'm probably going to go to the Marlins. It'd be better for him and his family to stay in Miami because that's where he's from. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. It's my girlfriend will be happy with that UCF pick that you called out if that is the route that they go. She went to UCF and probably knows that player very well. Anyways, Sean, go to you with the same question. I mean, college heavy that Hector said, is that your thoughts as well? I mean, obviously they're going to have to save money. High school is going to be hard after this guy. Not to say that they won't go high school for the rest of the draft, but I think college heavy would be the consensus.
Yeah, I would probably say college heavy's consensus. Also, with how the draft has been reorganized, I believe today they're doing more than 2 rounds. It's like 10 rounds. Yeah.
Yeah, the first
5 rounds today. 5 rounds, yeah.
4 rounds today, the first 135 total vacations. I don't blame you for being confused. That's why I had this graphic ready, just that everybody's on the same page, including people tuning in. Yeah, they structured it 4 rounds today, then 5 through 20 tomorrow. It's 4 rounds today, but 5 total Marlins picks. And once again, these are the ones that the Marlins will have.
Yeah, if I had to, I would say probably the rest of today is college, and maybe they have a high schooler or two in day 2 that they come to an agreement with overnight. But I would imagine it's college just to get, under slot, like players that they know for sure under slot, maybe slot, just so that way they can probably finish some details of Lombard and make sure everything's good. You don't want them to go off to college. It's something messes up here, which is it's rare, but it's happened before.
Yeah, you got to get that guy on paper. I think that those negotiations start immediately and could go for a little while, but I think those negotiations have to start right now between the Marlins and Mr. Lombard. They've been through that process before. The dad's been through it. The other son's been through it. So they know what they're doing too on their side. I'm sure that they have an agency attached to him that knows what they're doing as well. So that'll be another interesting conversation to have as this process goes on. A great pick, but this process is not done with that player yet until he has signed it on paper. So that's the next step for the Marlins with this player who they have to get on paper somehow, and I'm sure that they will. But gonna take a process. So that's one thing we'll be covering as this draft continues to roll on. We'll have Kevin in the building for the draft. I'm sure Hector and Sean, you guys will be on this with more reaction to Lombard and whatever else the Marlins decide to do today and the rest of this weekend. This has been a fun conversation to have so far with you guys. As you, Nate already mentioned it, you guys do great work on this. This is kind of your thing more than any of the rest of us. So it's been great to hear from you guys so far. And we look forward to the rest of your coverage the rest of this weekend. We'll have plenty more on this, plenty more on the draft, plenty more reaction in terms of what picks are coming up and the newest members of the Marlins organization as they join. So stay tuned to Fish on First for all of that. But I think that's all we got here. On this. This was a fun one of our most highly attended streams of the year, so we appreciate everybody joining in. Be happy today, Marlins fans. This is a good day so far, and we'll see how much better it can get as the draft rolls on. But for now, let's go Jacob Lombard, and let's go fish.